Robert Kiyosaki. He's the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and in his book, he writes about the importance of shedding limiting beliefs. Now, in his case, he's talking specifically about money. But the idea is that a lot of people who are poor remain poor, not because they aren't capable, but because they have a poor mindset. There's a joke that comedian Dave Chappelle told, and he said that when he was a kid, he came home one day and said to his dad, "Dad, we are poor." And his dad took him aside and said, "Son, you are not poor, you're broke." He said, poor is a mindset. Broke is a temporary circumstance. You see, a lot of us have a limit in our minds to how much we think we can manage. And oftentimes, subconsciously, we will sabotage ourselves to make sure that we stay in a place that we are comfortable with. Or we just might not seek opportunities that come along. I mean, how many of us have been scrolling through looking for a job? And you're scrolling and scrolling, you see something that seems like it'd be a good fit, you read the description, you're like, wow, this would be perfect. I would love to have this job. And you look at it and you're qualified for it. And then you look at the salary and it's way more than what you've ever gotten in your life. A lot of people wouldn't even apply because it is out of their comfort zone, beyond what they think they can handle. Or how many of you have that one friend where their relationship standards are low and you think to yourself like, well, how is it that they're dating that person? And the reason is because they go for the low-hanging fruit because they don't have an abundance mindset. They're living in scarcity. These limiting beliefs are based in scarcity. But God is a God of abundance, and He wants you to live an abundant life. In this video, I'm going to show you how to switch your mindset from one of scarcity to one of abundance. Let's get into it. Attention, bargain shoppers. It is possible to hold two beliefs simultaneously. One belief that God is limitless, that He has unlimited wealth and He has relationships that He wants to bless us with, and He has a fruitful and fulfilling life that He wants us to have. And then there's a second mindset that we can hold at the same time, that we are not worthy to receive that. God has the ability to bless you, but when you aren't ready to receive His blessing, oftentimes you will sabotage yourself down to a place that you are used to. And more often than not, we are not even aware of this. A lot of this happens subconsciously. So when you're praying and asking God to do things for you on one hand, on the other hand, you are limiting His ability to bless you. Now, one thing I want to make clear is that I'm using money as a metaphor here, and money is certainly a part of this. But this is not one of those how to get rich videos. This is a video on how to change your mindset to receive the blessings that God has for you. So there's a common idea in psychology circles that human beings would much rather do anything to avoid pain than they would to pursue pleasure. You could apply for that job. Yes, it could be an amazing opportunity, but that would mean leaving where you're at right now. And you're comfortable where you're at right now. Sure, you could invest your money, but that's a little bit risky. I mean, that investment might not pay off and you could lose it. Better to just keep what you have than risk loss. Or what about that relationship? You could pursue it, but it might lead to pain or heartache. So we sabotage ourselves. Those ways of thinking, those are all symptoms of a scarcity mindset. And when you hold that mindset, you are robbing yourself of God's blessings. In John 10:10, Jesus tells us, "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly." See, Jesus tells us that God doesn't want us to live and just get by in life. He doesn't want us to live in scarcity. He wants us to live in abundance. He wants us to have a fulfilling life. But your limiting beliefs may be stopping God from blessing you. You see, God is no fool. He knows that you can't keep pouring water into a broken bucket. Let me ask you this. How do you make somebody not poor? If you think about it, you think, well, just give them money, right? I mean, it makes sense. If you give somebody money, they would cease to be poor. But the problem is that being poor isn't a circumstance. Being poor is a mindset. Donald Trump famously went into bankruptcy and lost all this money and had crazy amounts of debt. And there's a famous story that one day he was walking into the Trump Tower with his daughter, and there was a homeless man on the side of the street. And he stopped and pointed to the homeless man and said to his daughter, "That man right there has more money than I do." And with that, they turned and went into the Trump Tower. Your mindset is everything when it comes to living in abundance. Think about all the lottery winners you hear about that end up going broke. The reason is because they don't have the capacity for abundance. So what do? You need to increase your capacity. And it starts with developing an abundance mindset. Think about it like this. Two people go into a job interview. One person is like, "I need this job. There's no other jobs around. This is the best I could do. Oh, I really hope it works out." And another person goes in the job interview and just thinks like, "Well, I'd like the job. If it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, no big deal." Who has the better chance of getting that job? Who's going to project a more confident energy? Who's going to be more likable? Same thing with going on a date. Let's say two different people go on a date. One person is like, "Wow, this person's amazing. I need this person. I need to do everything I can to get this person to like me." And the other person is just like, "Hey, I'm having a fun time. If it doesn't work out, great. If it does, cool." Which person is more likely to land a second date? If you have a mindset where you think money is scarce and hard to come by, are you going to be generous and give? Are you going to invest and take that risk? Are you going to pour into your business and make those moves? No, of course not. Someone who has an abundance mindset knows that God is in control and that he wants to bless you. If something I want doesn't work out, great. Something better will come along. Abundance. This person doesn't want to date me? Fine. On to the next person. There's a ton of people out there. Abundance. I didn't get the job I wanted? Awesome. There are tons of jobs. Something will work out. Abundance. Two people go to the same party. They hear the same music, they eat the same food, they talk to the same people. And when the night's done, one of them is like, "Wow, I really enjoyed myself. That was a really good time. The music was good, conversation was great, fun way to spend the evening." And the second person was like, "Oh, I had a terrible time. Oh, the food was terrible. Oh, I hated the music." Two people experiencing the exact same circumstances, but having two totally different perspectives. What's the difference? The difference is mindset. Your mindset makes all the difference in your quality of life. You see, 1 Thessalonians 5:18 says, "Give thanks in all circumstances." And why does God say this? Because God doesn't want us to just be blown around like leaves in the wind. God doesn't want you to be affected by the whims of other people. He doesn't want you to get cut off in traffic and have your whole day ruined. He doesn't want you at the mercy of your circumstances. And I think you will find that as you start to hold on to things less and less, you will see God bless you more and more. It is a paradox of God. The more you need it, the less likely you are to get it. And inversely, the less you need it, the more likely he is to bless you with it. So you need to develop an abundance mindset. "But Adam," I hear you say, "that's all well and good, but how? How practically can you develop an abundance mindset?" Well, dear friend, I'm going to tell you right now. And like many things in life, it is simple, but also very difficult to execute. So I can tell you what to do, but it is going to be your job to follow through with it. So the first thing you can do to develop an abundance mindset is practice gratitude. And I say practice because it's something you need to work on, something you need to put effort into. It's something where you need to make small gains daily that add up over time. You're not going to just sit down at the piano one day, having never played before, and expect to knock out Beethoven. It's not going to happen. You're not going to hop on the computer one day and expect to just automatically know how to code. It takes time to develop those skills, just like gratitude. I mean, once a year, we all get together at Thanksgiving, and I would think we all kind of go around the table and give thanks. And does our life really change because of that? No, it doesn't, because it's something you have to develop daily. I created this morning routine for myself that I do every day, and I wake up and I list the things that I'm grateful for. And you'd be surprised how hard it is to feel lack when you have a whole list in front of you of abundance. It's hard to continuously be wanting more when you already feel like you have enough. There's a YouTuber I really like. His name is Julian himself, and I'll put a link in the description to his channel if you're interested in checking him out. But he has a quote that I love, and it says, the only cure for neediness is more. You see, when you are living a life of scarcity and it's just always needing things, and you get those things, they're not going to satisfy you. You're just going to need the next thing and the next thing. Gratitude is the antidote to that. But again, it's not something you're just going to sit down and do one time and see life change happen. It's something you got to do consistently. Tony Robbins has a famous quote where he says, if you want dramatic change, you need to take dramatic action. You need to practice gratitude. You need to develop gratitude. You need to grow the skill of being grateful. So that's the first thing. The second key to developing an abundant mindset is to have drive without ambition. This was actually a quote from Johnny Depp. I was watching an interview with him, and he was talking about getting acting roles. He was talking about putting in the work and working hard and going after it, but then not being connected to the result or the outcome. He said it's important to have drive without ambition. Going back to the job interview example. So you got the two people, right? One person really needs it. One person's like, I don't really care. But the one that doesn't care is still prepared for the interview. They're still qualified for the job. Not being attached to the outcome doesn't mean you're not putting in the work. It just means that you're confident that no matter what happens, whether you get the job or don't get the job, that you're going to be okay and that God is in control. It's about being confident in God's ability to bless you. He wants you to put in the hard work, and he wants you to trust him that he's not going to let your work go to waste. Solomon actually addresses this in the book of Ecclesiastes. He talks about pursuing the things we desire, planting seeds, making our investments. He says, ship your grain across the sea. After many days, you may receive a return. Invest in 7, yes, 8 ventures. So part of it is putting in the initial work, but the other part is not tying yourself to the outcomes. You never know which way the wind will blow. You never know which investments will pay off, which relationships will blossom and which will fade. I actually have a little mantra that I developed for myself. Whenever I feel that scarcity mindset starting to creep in, I say there's so much in the world and God is abundant. I just say that to myself. There's so much in the world and God is abundant. I feel like something's not working out that I'm trying to get. I say there's so much in the world, God is abundant. It helps. It helps me. You don't have to use that exact thing, but you can develop your own little mantra to kind of remind yourself, to focus yourself, to bring it back to center whenever you start to feel that scarcity mindset. The key is to have drive without ambition, to put the work in today to build your future, but not tie yourself emotionally to the outcomes. And the third thing I'm going to share with you plays off of that. It is trust God to give you what you need. In the Psalms, it tells us, take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. So what does that verse tell us? How do we get the desires of our heart? By working really hard? By staying really focused on a singular goal? By being really anxious and trying to go after something? No. It says God will give us the desires of our heart. He will be the one to give it to you. So let God be God. You can run yourself ragged trying to pursue that relationship. Or you can just be okay being single and work on yourself and trust that God will provide when you're ready. You could work your butt off at your job trying to get that promotion. And you can do everything right and still be passed over. Or you can just trust that God knows you got to put food on the table and he will provide for you. This is something that I have struggled with in the past a lot personally. I'm a little bit of a control freak. I'm always trying to plan and make things happen and map out my future. But this is God's paradox. The more you need something, the more you struggle with it, the less likely you are to obtain it. The only thing that happens then is you bring anxiety on yourself and stress and fear. And then even if you were to get that thing you're pursuing, then there's all this fear that you might lose it. But on the inverse, if you just let go, you'll be less stressed, less anxious and fearful, and you will make space for God to bless you because you're not trying to just control everything. I mean, how many people have you talked to where they were like, yeah, I was trying to get a relationship and I was doing all this dating, and then when I finally gave up and stopped trying, that's when it happened. You hear that story 100 times. So trust God to give you what you need. God is an abundant God, and he wants you to live an abundant life. But if you're living in scarcity, it's going to limit the blessings he's able to give you. Stop getting in your own way. Allow God to bless you. Develop an abundance mindset. It will change your life. Hopefully you found this content helpful. If you did, please feel free to like and subscribe. It does help out the channel. If you have any questions you'd like me to try and answer for you, please feel free to leave a comment in the description. I'll do my best to respond to you. All the scripture references I use in this video, I'm going to link in the description in case you're interested in checking those out. My name is Adam. This is Bargain Bin Theology. And remember, you get what you pay for.